When your job involves taking people back in time more than 100 years, you've got to dress the part. That's exactly what Adele Schott-Snyder helps more than 170 workers do at Fort Edmonton Park.
We use our costumes as an interpretive tool for the interpreters to share their history. One way is through the clothing.
The park features 4 different eras in time, ranging from the 1880s to the early 1900s. Clothing certainly changed over that time in both stitch and style. The evolution is evident everywhere.
I like to call the women's clothes the pillowcase clothes. The Aboriginal women started to adopt the European fabrics when the fur trade came along, so they were basically the same style of clothes that they were making out of the hide, but then they built them into the cottons instead. And then the men were wearing, instead of button fly or a zipper fly. They didn't have zippers until the 1920s. They would have fall front trousers, so they did up here instead of down the middle.
Lessons in history can bring an appreciation for the modern day. Ladies can no doubt relate to the challenges their predecessors faced in the early 1900s.
Women would have worn something along the line of this. This is a bustle that one of my assistants made. So she would wear a very large, it could be made out of wire or whalebone and stitched together to make the cage, or it could be made out of canvas or other cottons to get the shape to stick the large back end.
Of course, not everything can be 100% legit. Certain concessions have to be made.
We try to have them as authentic as possible. We don't put people in corsets. That's one of our things. We worry about, our staff fainting. Chances are WCB would not be too fond of us if we had that happen too often. But we do try to stay with modern fabrics because it's hard to find vintage fabrics, especially since we try to buy locally. Wools, cottons, 1920s started with rayon, so that was the man-made silk made out of tree fibers. We don't have a lot of linen or hemp fabrics, but we could. Some of the men's shirts are made out of linen, some women's undergarments, but it can be a little itchy for that, so we don't tend to put those on people. They're itchy. We're not using the same construction techniques all the way. We use sewing machines to do most of our work because there's only a few of us doing the work, building the clothes for the staff to wear. So we have to make concessions like that.
Staff at the park go the extra mile to give visitors the ultimate historic experience. The vintage clothing helps them step back in time. But it's just the first step they take.
We try to use the language that they would have used, more British language than modern. If you say to a British person now, I'm going to go change my pants, they would wonder why you were doing that, or why you were sharing that information, because that means undergarments to them.
Progress isn't always positive, at least not when it comes to style. Schott-Snyder says men, for example, looked more dapper back in the day.
I kind of do not like the Industrial Revolution because it has changed fashion in such a way that clothes don't hang the way they used to. Men's tailored suit is a beautiful thing if it's done properly, if it's all hand canvassed and hand padded, which is, each layer of interfacing is hand stitched on. It takes days to do. And now we can just buy off the rack stuff and it works okay, but the collars are pressed flat instead of a really nice roll, and they just don't hang the way they should as they used to.
It would be almost impossible to leave Fort Edmonton Park without learning something. On the clothing front, a generations-old lesson on stain removal using an unconventional ingredient.
I had a really bad ink stain come in last year that it went through her skirt into her petticoat, and so we had to scrub and scrub and scrub, and I was using vodka, water, and sunlight soap. We use vodka for a couple of reasons in the costume shop. It can be used to remove ink or other stains. Also, it's got some antibacterial qualities, so it can remove odors. And we also use it in linen water, so it's a mixture of a little bit of vodka and some water with an essential oil, whatever kind of smell we want. And you spray that on your clothes and it helps take the wrinkles out and makes them smell fresher too.